Morning. Today is Thursday, the 20th day of Menachem Av. Today is the yahrzeit of the Rebbe's father, Rabbi Yitzchak, was a great Makubal, Kabbalist, great sage, and a person of Mesiras Nefesh. Literally, he gave his life up to keep Yiddishkeit in Russia. He was the rabbi of then the city called Yekaterinoslav, now Dnepropetrovsk, and he ended up being imprisoned for the work that he was doing, anti-revolutionary work by spreading Judaism, teaching Judaism, keeping mikvahs open, and he ended up passing away in exile. And he's buried in Almaty in Kazakhstan. And what is interesting, we see the result of his work today. The places that he was has such a big Jewish revival. Dnepropetrovsk has a shaliach, the shluchim there. They built the biggest center, Jewish center, the Menorah Center. Huge Jewish centers. You have in the place that he's buried in Kazakhstan, in Almaty, there is also, they built a big center, Jewish center. People there, as we speak, are there. Hundreds and hundreds of people from around the world came to be at this special day. So, Schusa Yogan Aleinu, he was a man of truth, and this is also connected with what we're learning today in the Tanya. Today we're going to complete chapter 6, the letter 6 in the Igeret Hakodesh. And in this letter, the Alter Rebbe is talking about truth, serving Hashem with truth. What does it mean? Is there truth? Is the ultimate truth? So we began yesterday asking a number of questions about a verse that says about Zeireya tzedakah secher emes. When you plant tzedakah, the reward is truth. And he brought the verse that says about Yaakov. Hashem says, Titen emes leYaakov. You give truth to Yaakov. What does it mean, giving truth? And we're saying the reward of truth. We went into we explained yesterday that when we're saying the reward is truth, it's not just that there is a true reward, but the truth is the reward. That means we get a reward of after doing what we need to do, and we'll soon explain what is it that we need to do. When we do what we need to do, we get a reward from Hashem, and that is truth. That means that we should be able to reach to the level of the deepest truth, serving Hashem with the deepest truth. And so we explained also about the levels of Yaakov Avinu, the different levels between Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Avram represents the love. Yitzchak represents the yira, the fear, severity, and Yaakov is Tiferes. Tiferes is beauty, is also connected with Rachamim, compassion. Why? What does it mean? Yaakov is compassion, and we explained that Chesed, kindness, is about the person who gives. He just likes to give. Doesn't matter whom the recipient is, always would like to give. That was Avram. Yitzchak is about considering the recipient, seeing whether the person deserving or not. Yaakov is the midah of Rachamim, compassion, which means that the combination of both. You give considering the recipient, but even when the time when the recipient is not worthy, the rachamim, the compassion, gives him nevertheless. So we said that Yaakov is using this concept of compassion, the way of that will serve Hashem with the way of Yaakov, the way of compassion, is having compassion on our own neshama, on the godly soul. When you think about the greatest heights where the neshama comes from, when you think about the greatness of Hashem, the more you understand the greatness of Hashem, and the more you appreciate how low and how distant we are, that arouses a big compassion, rachamim, rachmanis, and that nitzitz, and that spark of Hashem that fell so low. And that gets the person, and it affects the person very, very deeply. Because this can reach very deep places where love or fear, those kind of emotions don't reach that deep. But the compassion reaches even into places where they're very, very far, very distant. That's what we said, that Yaakov was the Bria Chatichon, he's the middle beam in the Mishkan. So let's see, the Alter Rebbe continues with this explanation and telling us and answering the questions that we had. What does it mean? Why is Yaakov connected with this? What does it mean the reward is truth? What does it mean planting tzedakah? All of this. Why does the tzedakah gives us the ability of having truth? All of these questions will be answered in today's lesson. But let's look inside. Says the Alter Rebbe, והנה, מדע זויס, יש בייז דחילו, בייז מיני דחילו וחינו. Now, it is well known that there are two types of awe of God and two types of love of God. What are the two types? The first ones are born of an understanding and cognition of the greatness of God. And of meditating on those things, those matters that lead to the love and fear of God. The love of God and to the fear of God. So, and meaning that there is the type of love and fear that you have as a result of your meditation. When you think about the greatness of Hashem, how powerful Hashem is, it brings a feeling of awe and fear. When you think about what Hashem does for us, how Hashem elevates us from the lowest place that we are, that itself brings about, gives birth to the feeling of love to Hashem. This is one type. This is one type of awe and love. But then there is the latter one, the latter ones are those that come afterwards from above as a gift. What does it mean? That when we love Hashem, is that true love? This is a question we can ask anytime. When you have something, you love something, is it true love? What is truth? In Hebrew, truth, they say, is emes, aleph, mem, taf. Aleph, mem, taf is the first letter of the alphabet, taf is the last letter, and mem is the center, the middle letter. How could it be middle if we have 22 letters? You cannot have a middle. But if you add also the 5 final letters, so we have 22 plus 5 is 27. So the middle is 14. The letter mem is the 14th letter right in the middle of the alphabet. And that means emes, truth, is something that is true in the beginning, is true in the end, it's true in the middle, true throughout. emes, something that is ultimate truth, it doesn't change. So when you have love of something because of certain conditions or something, the person, it can change. Yesterday you love him, tomorrow you can fall out of love. There is something that is a higher, deeper love when you see the truth, when you become one, when you see that this is it and there's nothing can change it. That type of love is to Hashem, to God, is a love that we get as a gift after we do everything what we can, serving Hashem, meditating on the greatness of Hashem. And then you can get as a gift from Hashem, the love from Hashem. And this explains also, this is the way the Cohen in the Beis HaMikdash, in the temple, they would serve Hashem with love. What kind of love? Even today, when we say the bracha, I happen to be a Cohen. I didn't do anything for it. I got it as a gift. I was born a Cohen. When we say the bracha, blessing God, blessing the Jewish people, one of the commandments of the Cohen is to bless the Jewish people. We say Asher Kedushanu b'Kedushosei shel Aaron, thanking Hashem for sanctifying us with the sanctity of Aharon, the first priest. V'tzivanu, and he commanded us lavarich esama Yisrael, to bless the Jewish people, his people Israel, be'ahava, with love. That's only mitzvah. We say he commanded us to do it with love, because the love that a Kohen has in the time of the Beis HaMikdash is a gift from above. The same thing is also the blessing itself that comes through the Kohen, has nothing to do with the Kohen. It is coming as a gift straight from Hashem to the people that are being blessed. Continues the Alter Rebbe. So this is a type of love that we get as a gift, and that is the truth. As explained elsewhere, in comment on the verse, I shall grant you your priestly service as a gift. This priesthood refers to the attribute of love, the love of Hashem, that a Kohen's experience in the Holy Temple is a tremendous gift. And it is likewise with regard to awe, meaning there is a degree of fear of God that is likewise granted as a gift from above. Again, you fear something that you understand that needs to be feared, but that's not a true fear. That's not something when you realize that this is something that can never change. And that type of level is a gift. We get it as a gift of God after we went through this first level. Continues the Alter Rebbe, now there is surely no comparison between the first ones, the lower levels of love and fear, which are the product of the created intellect. And the latter ones, which are a gift from the Creator, blessed be His name, you cannot compare them. And therefore, since they cannot compare them, they're totally different. That's why the last one is called truth. That is why it is the latter degree of love and fear that are referred to as truth. Because the seal of the Holy One, blessed be He, is truth. He is the true truth, the ultimate truth. And all truth among created being is considered as nothing. Meaning, the feeling that we have, which in our level we consider true feeling, but compared to Hashem, it is considered nothing. And we need to get to the ultimate truth. How do you get there? How do you get this gift? Says the Alter Rebbe, number one, the way to get it is follow the way of Yaakov, which is the way of compassion. Says the Alter Rebbe, but which is the way whereby a man can merit the loftier love of fear, the loftier love and fear that are termed the truth of God. How can you get there? It is by arousing great compassion in God's eyes for the spark in his soul. When you think about the greatness, as we said before, the greatness of Hashem, and the place where the godly spark that is in our soul, where it fell down, you do it with the great compassion. This level, attribute of compassion is the attribute of Yaakov. Who bolts from one end through the other. This is when it says in the what is he talking about? This is talking about in the Mishkan. It says in the tabernacle in the desert. When they build the tabernacle, how did they build it? They built it with beams standing up vertically. But what kept them together? So there was 3 beams going through the beams connecting them. It was on top one, and the bottom, and the center. But there was a difference between the top and the bottom and the center. The top and the bottom, there were straight beams going on each side. So there was 3 different beams on the right side, the left side, and the back. The front had a curtain to enter to the Mishkan. So there was 3, and there was beams, separate beams that connecting the each side. The middle beam was actually a great miracle happened there. That this was one beam that went and turned like a snake through all 3 walls. That beam represents the level of Yaakov. The top is Avram, the bottom is Yitzchak, the center one represents Yaakov. And his level is the ultimate truth that goes from one level to the other it's the same beam, the same truth. This represents the Mavriach me'akotze lakotze. Truth is always there. The hainu meruma mailos ad lematamato, that is from the uppermost of all levels to the nethermost, from the highest level to the lowest level. Lehamshich emes Hashem lo'olam hazeh hashofel hachoshech, causing the truth of God to flow to this lowly dark world. As it is written, when I sit in darkness, God is a light unto me. So the light is always, doesn't matter what level it is. And this is the meaning of the phrase, for his kindness has prevailed over us. That means that the kindness of Hashem prevailed over the darkness of the world. That means even in the darkness, we see and we appreciate the greatness, the kindness of Hashem. Okay, so how do we bring up upon ourselves this level of truth, this level of love, the true love of Hashem? So we said, this is by awakening, feeling the mercy, the compassion, and the godly spark. However, as says the Alter Rebbe here, we have a problem. What's the problem? In order to awaken the truth from Hashem, you need to have also a true awakening of your own compassion. Meaning the compassion, the feeling of compassion, that also needs to be a true compassion. And if we are human beings living in a physical world, And what we see and what we feel and what we sense is all about the physical world. How can we get this level of true compassion to Hashem in order to get the truth, the love and the fear of Hashem in truth? How can we reach that level? That's the question Alter Rebbe asked them. However, this arousal of God's great compassion also needs to be done in truth. וגם כשהוא באמס שלוי, איך יוכל על ידי אמס שלוי לאור הרחמים עליונים מאמס השם. But even when it is true in mortal terms, let's say I turn in truth to Hashem, but your truth is not God's truth. Your truth is only in your world. When you sense something, the more you appreciate them, the greater you reach, the greater understanding you reach, the greater you appreciate, and your level of truth becomes in a higher level, a deeper truth. So how can we, but higher truth, by means of relative truth, how can one arouse supernal compassion from the truth of God? How can we do this? Says this, that the Alter Rebbe, he comes, this is the advice, is the tzedakah. This is how he explains, he connects the concept of tzedakah to revealing the truth, the reward of truth. Why? Because what do you do with tzedakah? With tzedakah, you give to someone that does not have anything, and you give them of your, not something that he deserves. When you do something like this, Hashem, that triggers Hashem to do a similar thing with you. That Hashem gives you the truth, even though you only reached your truth, Hashem gives you the ultimate truth. The solution recommended for this is the practice of the attribute of charity, which is the attribute of compassion for he who has nothing of his own, to revive the spirit of the lowly. Because tzedakah is really something that is done in truth. It was the story of the Alter Rebbe once. That was before he became Rebbe. And he was traveling, and he came to a place, an inn, where the host, the owner, was a very, very charitable person. And he would always give, if somebody couldn't pay for his stay, we would let him stay without paying. Someone was really in need, not only we would let him stay, but he would give him tzedakah. And he always did, was a very generous person. And when the Alter Rebbe stayed there, he noticed that the Alter Rebbe is not a simple person. And he decided to open up his heart and talk to the Alter Rebbe. And he says to him, I have a problem. He says, I know I give tzedakah, but I feel that whatever I do, the charity, perhaps is not the true charity. It's not in truth. I'm not doing it with the true purpose, with the true way you should give charity. I'm doing it for ulterior motives, maybe because I should get honor, respect, I get satisfaction. I don't do it in truth. The Alter Rebbe then meditated for a moment, put his head on his forehead, on his forehead and his hand, and then he said to him, aber der Mann wird satt mit der Nemes. But the poor person, when you feed him, he becomes satiated in truth. He was really hungry, and now he's really full. He receives that tzedakah. For him is ultimate truth. That's what matters. So when it comes to tzedakah, what matters is that the thing is done. And when you give some to someone, you give him in truth. So the fact that you give to someone that doesn't have and you feed him, that itself is the cause to help that you should be able to get also the reward from Hashem the reward of truth. Continues the Alter Rebbe. Ubisarusa de lesate isarusa de leila, Hashem me'iri yesheni will make it zerdarim. And the arousal from below elicits an arousal from above. That God arouses those who sleep and awakens those who slumber. What is he talking about? Hein bechinas rachamim rabim v'chasodim elyonim and elamim. Meaning he arouses his great compassion and the supernal attributes of kindness which are concealed. So these concealed emotions and attributes become revealed in the person. So that they emerge from concealment into manifestation and into great illumination. So that a man is illuminated with the light of life, with the truth of God unto the world. This then is the meaning of the idiom of sowing related to charity. As we said in the beginning of the chapter, it says, he who sows charity. Or there's another verse that says, Ziru lechem tzedakah, sow for yourself charity. That means, la'atzmiach emes or elyon emes Hashem. So one thereby causes the supernal truth, the truth of God, to sprout. So just like in planting, you plant and something sprouts, something which is way beyond of what you planted. The same thing is also, you plant the tzedakah, it sprouts and makes the truth of Hashem to come upon you, that you get a sense of that truth. And especially, says the Alter Rebbe, when we give tzedakah with the Eretz Israel, the Holy Land, this was the charity the Alter Rebbe was collecting for the people, supporting the people who lived in the Holy Land. Now this is achieved especially through the acts of charity and true kindness that are done for the benefit of the Holy Land. May it be built and established speedily nowadays. Amen. Thereby realizing the verse, truth shall sprout from the land. I mean, the land in Israel, the truth will sprout. By sowing charity in it. And the kindness and the great compassion that are gathered into it and gleaned in it, they correspondingly arouse this and the supreme grace that are hidden and concealed in it. As it is written, how great is your kindness which you have hidden, so that the land is established and set up firmly. And of this is written, through tzedakah shall you be firmly established. So this is referring to the establishment of the congregation of Israel. And here below, as well as to its spiritual counterpart above, the sphere of Malchus of Atzilus, which is also known by the same name, the Eretz. So here, the Alter Rebbe concludes this chapter with giving us yet another appreciation, another understanding and insight of the power of the tzedakah. That when we give the tzedakah, we have the ability, of course, after working on our own with the Av and Yira of Hashem, the love and fear of Hashem, through giving the tzedakah, we're able to reveal even deeper love and fear of Hashem, which is the truth, the ultimate truth. So this is the end of today's share, the end of chapter 6. Thank you so much for joining. Any questions?